Hello all, welcome back to Sri Sai Tech Edu YouTube channel, Read, Lead, Success. I am dealing with the subject Research and Publication Ethics under Module 1 Philosophy and Ethics. There are two chapters, that is Introduction to Philosophy. The topics of this Introduction to Philosophy I have already uploaded. Please do watch if you have missed out. Under Ethics, this is the last topic which I am going to deal with it. Let's go into the topic. The nature of moral judgments. The nature of moral judgments as well as the nature of moral reactions, both we are going to see in this video. Nature of moral judgments. Ethics is a science of morality and it discusses the contents of moral consciousness and the various problems of moral consciousness. Moral consciousness is the consciousness of right and wrong. It involves three factors. What are those? Cognitive or intellectual moral judgment, affective or emotional moral sentiment, cognitive or volitional is moral obligation. Moral judgment is the main cognitive factor in moral consciousness. It involves intuition of moral standard by reason and comparison of a voluntary action with it. It also involves evaluation of voluntary action as right and wrong. The emotional factors include the moral sentiments, moral judgments are followed by moral sentiments and not vice versa. Moral obligation is the main cognitive factor of moral consciousness. It involves the moral impulse to do the right action. We feel we are under moral obligations to do what is right and avoid what is wrong. So this discusses all the three things of whatever we have seen in the previous slide. Meaning of moral judgment. Moral judgment is the judgment which deals with the moral value or quality of an action. It is a judgment of value and it evaluates the rightness or wrongness of our actions. When we analyze a moral judgment, then we find what it contains. What it contains, a subject which will be judged, what subject we are going to judge, an object whose action will be judged, an object whose action will be judged, and a standard in conformity to which the action of the subject will be judged. A power of judging the action as required. The power of judging what action as required. Moral judgment is a value judgment. It's not the same as making a factual judgment. Value judgment is what should be and factual judgment is what is. A descriptive judgment is fact judgment, whereas a moral judgment is an appreciating or critical assessment. Moral judgment is thus a mental act of deciding whether or not a specific here is right or wrong. Means, according to Mackenzie, the moral judgment entails with the nature of an object but also comparing it to standard and declaring it as what good or evil, right or wrong. As a result, it is normative. Moral judgment, according to Muirhead, is concerned with the assessment of conduct or the determination of whether or not certain behaviors are right or bad. In Bradley's word, moral judgment is usually intuitive and quick because we naturally place an action under a community accepted moral code and determine whether it is right or evil. We only consciously compare an activity to the moral model and judge it as right or wrong in difficult or uncertain occasions. As a result, we can deduce that a moral judgment requires a subject who judges an object to be judged as well as a standard by which an action is judged. For example, eating pork in Islamic societies or hamburger in Hindu societies is considered to be immoral, offensive since God precludes the utilization of these creatures. The different things which are immoral, offense, because God precludes the utilization of these creatures. Okay. Then this standard trumps different standards and is considered moral instead of traditional on the grounds that the judgment that is inappropriate to consume pork in Islamic or hamburger in Hindu society abrogates different standards. Elements of moral judgment. What are the elements of moral judgment? Moral imagination. Moral imagination. Ability to see that business and moral relationships are intertwined, recognizing that moral issues exist in day-to-day life. Moral identification and ordering. Identify and prioritize issues. Distinguish valid from rhetorical. Moral evaluation. Arriving at practical decisions based on reasoning. Consistency and coherence is key. Tolerance of moral ambiguity. Even though if others disagree or in case not having clear answers, one has to be ethical. Integration of managerial and moral competence. Most ethical standards are based on economic decisions. Moral competence should be an integral part of managerial and leadership competence. Moral obligation. Foundation to all other elements. Person with moral obligation will feel necessity and or urgency to act rightfully in fairness to all with utmost concern for justice. Motivating and the driving force behind making moral judgments and implementing ethical decisions. Object and subject of moral judgment. What is the object and subject? Object, voluntary actions, freedom of will, internal factors of voluntary actions, mental stage, organic stage, external stage, to be judged and act by its motive, intent or by its consequence, whether the object is motive or consequence. Subject, rational self or ideal self. Morality vs law, example, abortion. Nature of moral reactions. It's important to note that they distinguish between moral and logical and aesthetic judgments. Ethics, logic and aesthetics are normative sciences, as we all know, right? As a result, they have three supreme life norms and ideals. Ethics is concerned with what? Ideals of the greatest good, logic with ideal of truth, and aesthetics with the ideal of beauty. True, they are all either appreciating or critical judgments. Moral judgments, on the other hand, are always accompanied by moral obligation and moral sentiments, whereas logical and aesthetic judgments are not. When we believe an activity is right, we have a moral obligation to carry out and sense of approval. And when we evaluate activity to be bad, we believe we have a moral obligation to refrain from the performing it, resulting in a feeling of disapproval. Whenever we have a moral obligation that it is good, right, then what we will do? We have a sense of approval. When we feel it is bad, what we do? We refrain or we refuse to do that approval or disapproval the thing. So moral sentiments include feelings of acceptance, disapproval, rightness, wrongness and so on. Moral judgments are therefore required and accompanied with moral attitudes. Subsequently, they are particular from legitimate and stylish decisions that are not joined by ethical commitment or moral sentiments. Moral decisions, for example, whether something is positive or negative all by itself, are completely inside the domain of morals. Different types of judgments can be found in the reasoning process. Okay, and they are mainly factual judgments. Moral judgment, on the other hand, is concerned with what should be. Okay, it determines what our actions should be. It has special characteristics. It is both critical and appreciating judgment. It is the mental process of determining whether or not a specific action is right or bad. Actions are to be appraised in accordance with standard after review and debate. A moral judgment is one thing that what speaking the truth is always right. Moral judgment is distinct from factual judgment, which is descriptive and describes what is. When we observe a voluntary activity, we compare it to a moral norm and determine if it is in accordance with it. Moral judgments are usually intuitive and immediate. People respect the characteristics of an individual who has them and displays them in his dealings with others and his tough spots. So they can likewise be called positive routines of the individuals. It is hence properly said that ethical life doesn't fill in a vacuum. Great life or moral life is created through the ongoing or normal carrying out of beneficial things or activities in evolving circumstances. Character and direct of a man are personally related. Direct of a man is a declaration of his personality in changed circumstances. Going against the norm, moral person of an individual is shaped when he does great activities reliably and steadily. Humans admire attributes that a person possesses and displays in his interactions with others and in challenging situations. As a result, they can be referred to as human beneficial habits. As a result, it is correct to assert that moral life does not flourish in isolation. The habitual or regular performance of good deeds or behaviors in different settings leads to the development of a good life or a moral existence. A man's personality and behavior are intertwined. A man's behavior reflects in his personality in a variety of settings. Moral character, on the other hand, is established when a person consistently and continuously performs positive deeds. Obligations are required activities. A man performs his responsibility. Uprightness alludes to ethical nature of individual. We in this way accurately say that a specific individual is ethical, assuming he has great characteristics. Such an idealistic individual is not just great, yet he likewise carry out beneficial things. He does not take occasions from excellences. So excellencies advance the prosperity of their owners and furthermore of their general public, while indecencies oppose the government assistance of their holders. It includes the ethical motivation to do the smart activity. So we believe we are under ethical constraints to make the right decision, keep away from what's going on. The ethical judgment is the judgment which manages the virtue or nature of an activity. So this completes the judgments as and reactions as well. So this completes the module 1 of the research and publication ethics. With a new module I will upload video further. So for now, thank you from Sri Sai Tech Edu YouTube channel. Read, lead, success. Keep reading.